Okay, so this is just a continuation from last week on the click to deploy feature that I started working on. And I've added a bunch of other features to go with it because everyone wanted something different, so everyone gets what they want. So to remind anybody that didn't see it last week, the idea was to be able to deploy or export items directly from the content admin list. So the first feature that was part of it was this one here, which when you've selected the content item allows you to automatically run a custom recipe and create a file locally or deploy something to a remote instance.
Or to anywhere, as long as you have a custom target.
Or to anywhere, except for the bug there where that didn't work. Interesting. Haven't tried that feature recently. What I've also added to this one was the ability to add things to an existing deployment plan, not necessarily run them. So if we were to do this, then we get a list of deployment plans pop up, and we'll add it to this plan. And then if I go in and we can have a look at this plan, then you'll see that it's, well, there's 3 added here because I added a couple of test ones before, making sure that some things worked. So we now have a content item step in here, which has been added automatically. And if you look at it, if you edit it, you can have the content item is being put in there directly for you.
Is that a new thing?
Yeah, it's a new thing.
No. I mean, this content step, this step.
The step is new.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a weird step.
Yeah, I made the step to go with, well, because you said last week, make it so it adds to a deployment plan. So
yeah, but why did you copy the code, the content?
Well, you've got to put it in there.
No. Well, I'm not saying it's invalid. It's not useful, but you see, I mean, I was expecting that you would add the content item logical reference to it so that if tomorrow I want to re-execute my deployment plan, it will redeploy the content item and not the old version of the content item.
We could do that too. One of the reasons I added this in is because it actually gives you the ability to go in and change it afterwards. So you can now just tweak it if you want to.
Yeah, but then tweak your content item and then it will, that's weird. I will not use that. It's work, I mean, it's good code, but that's a weird feature to add a specific version to deployment plan. And if you change the content item, then you are still deploying the old version. People will be so confused.
So we could take a reference to the we could take a reference to the version ID.
Yeah, just the content item ID or the version. So it could be 2 things like the version or the, but I would say just the content item ID because that's what you want usually. You want to add this content item to the deployment plan so that when you trigger the deployment, it also uploads this content item every time because it makes it updated on the destination server. And this view is nice because that's exactly why I wanted the other link, which is view content item, to see the thing, or maybe to be able to edit a specific version like this, which might be also super useful. But yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's the next feature.
And I don't want to be the only one to say that or to say the opposite of that. If anyone has any comment.
So I guess I kind of did this based on the existing plans that were there, which was content types and all content types. Look, it can work either way. The version ID is in some ways more useful. Well, maybe, because you'll see.
Yeah, and so you're saying content types. I assume they're also logical reference to the type and not copying when we create the step. Are they?
No, they're not. They're created at the time.
And if I change the type, it won't take the new type into.
If you change the type, it wouldn't take the new type into account.
That's bad. Then the same issue.
But you can't change types, can you?
No, what I mean is
Not-
that it should be a logical reference to a type. So like
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
a logical reference. Yeah.
export page, not export this content type and all its properties. It's export page, whatever page is when I run the plan. That's what should be it.
Cool. I think I added this one because there was a lot of talk about doing stuff with workflows and wanting to tweak items, and this was a way to tweak items here. But we can do it maybe with version ID, maybe with content item ID. I'll show you in a sec, because if I was to, well, okay. Next feature was you wanted just plain JSON. So we ended up with two here. One was viewers JSON, which just gives you a plain view. I haven't enabled editing on this.
And the best feature, the copy.
Yeah, you've got the copy. Oh, I forgot to do the cursor pointer. But yeah, you've got copy. Or if you want to, you can then export it out and have the JSON as a file.
Call it download.
Download?
Yeah.
We can do that. That's an easy change. And I added that as a direct target here as well. So you can view it, you can then download it, export it, or you can then just export it straight as JSON directly from here. What I also did, which is kind of optional, but why I say that about the version reference, if I draft this, enabled the ability to, when it works, come on computer, see the draft or see the published, and to do the same with exporting to a deployment plan or to or adding it to a deployment plan. So you could move your drafts over. Maybe that's too confusing and
at least maybe a section. We should have a, at the top.
Yeah, it needs to underline.
To split draft from published version. That would be easier. That's good.
So that's why probably in the export I would hang on to the version ID rather than the content item ID.
Yeah, in my case it was more the content item ID because that has to follow whatever the published version is that you want to deploy, because you always, well, on the two of them. But the step itself should be logical reference, not the content.
Yeah. So maybe if you're exporting, if you're adding the published one to a deployment plan, it adds the content item ID reference, so it's always the latest published one.
Yeah, maybe it's an option, maybe it's a flag on the deployment step, just to say publish, draft, both, whatever.
Yeah, could be. Could work. Yeah, so that's that little feature.
It's good.
A couple of little tweaks to do and we'll do it.
You had fun. These are easy, relaxing features to implement because not much technical difficulties, but super useful.
Exactly. Oh, that's why I did it, is because this one I'll actually use myself on a daily basis.
Yeah, whereas workflows will be like, yeah, I know what it looks like now.
Yeah, because workflows are so hard. Like to actually get the JSON right, you've got to go to your database, you've got to cut and paste some stuff around, especially if you don't know what a content item looks like.
And you're lucky you know that you need to do that. Most people don't know that they need to copy paste stuff or put some JSON here or some liquid or both.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we could have a feature here. Maybe one day maybe Sipka will write a feature to add it to a workflow. Yeah, so there's that one. Nice and simple. I'll finish that off and hopefully we'll get it in.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows as well, they are all features.
Yes.
So
if you think it's bloated, it's not because it's bloated, it's because you decided to make it bloated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the one other thing as well, in terms of permissions, so you don't get any more permissions for exporting or viewing. You just need to have the export permission, which is a deployment plan permission.
Okay.
Because it makes more sense, you know. Everything is tied to deployment here. They're all related.
Good. Good. Thank you. An update also on the other PR. What did we talk about last time? We talked about import, which is kind of related.
Yeah, so I did this. This one is the fun feature after having sorted import. We'll merge that probably next week, I hope, when I get a chance to get back on it. But it will resolve some of the issues that you'll get, or you can get, when you're deploying existing content to an existing site. Yeah, that's what's the word?
Idempotency.
Excellent. I can't pronounce that one. So the idea is that at the moment there's a little bit of an issue where if I deploy this piece of content to one of the other sites, it's not working at the moment. If I deploy this and then I re-edit it here and make another version and I deploy it again, the other site gets confused about which one is the published version and which one is the latest version. So we've introduced some ways to make it figure that out. So that as you deploy content, it will replace, if you deploy a published version, it will replace the published version on the site you're deploying to, if the site has a published version. And for example, if you deploy, if you have a staging site here, or say this is my development site, and you deploy you create a draft item on your production site, and then you deploy over the top of it, it will remove that draft, because otherwise that draft would be kind of orphaned as such, because you've introduced a new version. If that makes sense.
Not sure. I mean, I understand what you said, and I'm not sure it makes sense to remove the draft. Maybe you still want the draft and just update the published version. I assume when all these combinations will be listed and maybe documented just with a matrix of what's happening when you import such a version, then it will make people understand what's obvious, what's not obvious, and how it should behave.
Yeah, that is something I will write in the documentation, but it had to be quite specific, because otherwise you would never know whether your draft was from the import or whether your draft was existing, and whether it had been updated to reflect the imported values.
Yeah, well, you make a decision based on your knowledge. We'll see how it goes. Trust you. You have reasons, so.
Yeah, well, I could all wear wrong, but we can fix that.
I can give some advice about changing the text of a button, at least.
So what do you want? You want this one called download, do you?
The button, yeah, maybe the same thing for this one. As long as it's downloading a file, call it download, so people are not surprised that they get a file in the bottom when they click the thing. It's downloading something.
Download button. That one I can change. Cool. Okay then.
Yeah, you don't even need to say JSON download. Boom, they will get it. I hope they don't expect to get an image of the content item, but yeah, nobody will.
Yeah,
good.
Call it
Awesome.
to be specific.
Thank you. Thank you very much.